Welcome back to ShubhCode. Today is episode 3 of the Apex Interview Questions series. Topic: Asynchronous Apex Interview Questions, Batch, Queueable and Future. When to use which async method and how to handle high-volume data. These are the questions that real interviewers at top Salesforce firms ask. Let's go. Here are the questions we're answering today. What is the difference between future, batch, and queueable? Then, when does an interviewer want you to use batch versus queueable? Then, what are the limitations of future methods? Then, how does queueable chain jobs? Then, what is the maximum batch size and why does it matter? Stay for the last one, it's the most important. Let me explain this simply. Asynchronous Apex runs in the background. You use it for long-running processes or external API callouts so you don't freeze the user screen. Future methods are the simplest but they can't take SObjects as arguments. Queueable Apex is the modern upgrade, it can take complex types and you can chain them. Batch Apex is for massive data volume, up to 50 million records, chunked into pieces with fresh governor limits for each chunk.
If Queueable is the modern upgrade, why would I ever use future again?
This is the Async Apex comparison question and it's almost guaranteed in any senior Salesforce interview. Let me give you the answer that covers all three at the right depth. Future methods are the simplest async option. You annotate a static method with @future and it runs in a separate transaction with fresh governor limits. Limitations: no return value, no passing SObjects as parameters, can't chain or monitor them easily, and you can only have 50 queued future calls per org at once. Batch Apex is for processing large volumes of records, millions if needed. It breaks your dataset into chunks of up to 200 records, each chunk processed in its own transaction with fresh limits. Best for mass data operations. Queueable Apex is the most flexible. It's like a better version of future, supports any data type as parameter including SObjects, can be chained, and gives you a job ID you can monitor. Use it for complex async workflows where jobs depend on each other. The batch size question catches people who've used Batch Apex but never thought deeply about it. The default batch size is 200 records. The maximum is 2000. The minimum is first. Why does this matter? Because the batch size determines how many records are in each start execute finish chunk, which determines how many governor limit allocations you get for the full job. If you have 1 million records and use batch size 200, that's 5,000 execute calls, 5,000 fresh sets of governor limits. If you use batch size 2000, that's only 500 execute calls. Fewer, larger chunks. The trade-off: larger batch sizes process faster but each chunk is more likely to hit limits if your logic is complex. There's also a callout consideration: if your execute method makes HTTP callouts, your batch size must be 1, because only one callout is allowed per transaction. Job chaining is what makes Queueable the most powerful async option. Here's how it works. Inside your Queueable class's execute method, you can enqueue another queueable job. Salesforce processes the first job, and when it finishes, the second job picks up right where it left off. You can chain jobs indefinitely in sandboxes. In production, there's a maximum depth of 5 chained jobs per transaction. This pattern is perfect for sequential workflows. For example, Job 1 fetches data from an external API, Job 2 processes and transforms that data. Job 3 creates Salesforce records. Job 4 sends notification emails. Each job runs with fresh governor limits and passes its results to the next job through a class member variable or custom metadata. Quick recap before you go. Future equals simple async, but limited, no SObjects, no chaining, no monitoring. Batch Apex equals large volume processing with configurable chunk sizes. Queueable equals most flexible, SObject params, chainable, has a job ID. Batch with callouts, must set size to 1 callout per transaction. Queueable chains, unlimited depth in sandbox. Max 5 in production. These answers will set you apart in your next Salesforce interview. Like this video if it helped. It takes 2 seconds and helps the channel a lot. Next up, Episode 4, SOQL and SOSL, the tricky interview questions about indexes, selectivity, and query optimization. See you tomorrow.